All right, guys, welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. This week, we're going to be breaking down some of the biggest games of Week 1. College football is finally back, so diving right into it. Penn State versus Wisconsin. The Badgers host the Nittany Lions in a crucial ranked Big Ten matchup to open up the year. Looking at this Penn State offense, Sean Clifford, he's back for his third year under center as a starter. He struggled though with consistency as he was a part of an offense that couldn't stop turning the ball over last year. Across their 0-5 start, Penn State had 13 giveaways during the first 5 games of the year. After that, they cut it down to only 3 over the next 4, all wins. So protecting the football is going to be very crucial for Penn State, and Sean Clifford will be a big part of that as well. The bread and butter for the Lions, though, is their round game. They have a very deep rotation of backs alongside Sean Clifford, who's an impressive runner in his own right. Noah Cain, he's a former highly touted recruit. Only saw 3 touches last season due to injury, but he was impressive as a freshman. 443 yards, 8 scores on 84 touches. Pair him up with John Levitt, Cavante Lee, and Divine Ford. These guys are going to be leaned on to make a lot of plays all year long, but mainly in this game because they're going to have to run the ball to beat Wisconsin. This offensive line, if they get pushed around, even more pressure on the running backs to break tackles, make plays, especially if they can get free in the open field. It's going to be very tough. It's going to be a very interesting matchup, though. I'm looking forward to it. Against Iowa, and Ohio State last year, they got pushed around on the offensive front. They couldn't run the ball. So if that happens here against the Badgers, it's going to be really tough to win. Because, this is not a very strong passing attack from Penn State. They're not really deep at receiver either. They have Jahan Dotson. He's a premier playmaker. He's going to be leaned on in the slugfest to make plays on one-on-one matchups. You're going to see a lot of streaks down the sideline, a lot of jump balls, a lot of fades. Dotson's going to have to come down with those to give this offense the ability to move the chains. So, in Parker Washington in the slot, I love this guy, a shifty pass catcher. He had a big year last year as a freshman. I think he's another guy who's going to see a lot of time. So their pass catchers are going to have to be instrumental. They're going to have to be good and getting open. If they can't get open, if the ball's in their area, they're going to have to make plays on it. So, looking at the offensive line, left tackle Rasheed Walker, he's going to need to be big in this game. We'll get to the Badger offense later, and you'll find out why, but he's going to have to be very big for the Penn State Nittany Lions offense. To the Badger offense, Wisconsin, they struggled to run the ball last year, but I don't anticipate that lasting long in a Paul Chryst-led program. This ground attack, it kind of looked doomed last year. Whenever Jalen Berger was gone, they weren't great, but when he was in the lineup, he rushed for 87-plus yards in three straight contests, only played in 4 games on the year. If healthy, Berger should be in for a big year. He's going to be leaning on a very veteran offensive line, especially in this game all year long, though. They're going to generate a consistent push up front. We'll focus on them in a minute, but quarterback Graham Mertz, he's going to have to play a big role as well. He kicked off his freshman year with a 95% completion rate with 5 scores against Illinois, and then he struggled the remainder of the season. He only completed 60% of his passes or less in 5 of the final 6 games. In the lackluster Badger passing attack, it was a big reason why this unit only scored 22.3 points per game versus conference opponents. They do have some good pass catchers, though. Jake Ferguson, a tight end, very reliable during his career for Wisconsin. Danny Davis, he's got great hands. And Kendric Pryor is another one of those veterans they can lean on to make some plays. So it's not all bad, but they just need to be able to have some balance so that play action can get going. And Mertz himself, he's just going to have to play better. Focusing back on the Wisconsin running game, it was very staggered. They only turned out 164 yards per game last season. That was 62nd FBS. But they looked their best when Berger was in the lineup. As noted, he ran for 87-plus in 3 straight games, averaged 5.8 yards per carry in those contests. And then he played in the bowl game, didn't do much. But Berger, he's legit. His ground game should at least approach the 180 game mark. Depth at running back is a little concerning, though. I'm not really sure who's going to take over the number 2. We'll find out in this game, though. There's going to be a lot of question marks answered, that is. And again, I want to reframe on this offensive line. I think it's elite, made up of 4 seniors, a redshirt freshman who was the 104th ranked prospect in the class of 2020, 6'7" Jack Nelson, Logan Bruss. He's a great pass protector. He's going to kick out the tackle. You'll see him make his debut there. Josh Snelser on the offensive front. Good pass blocker in his own right. Tyler Beach, I like him at left tackle. I think all around this unit is A+. And then another guy, Logan Brown. Last year, Wisconsin's offense, though, they had a stretch where they scored 7, 6, and 7 points, all against ranked opponents. So this offense is going to have to be a lot better to beat a good Penn State team. So it'll be interesting to see the things they've worked on, how much they've gotten better. Looking at the Penn State defense, both schools returned 82% of his production from a season ago on defense. So veteran units, a lot of stars. The Lions, though, they must replace some key faces up front. They do get back safety Jaquan Brisker along with linebackers Brandon Smith, Ellis Brooks. The Nittany Lions ranked 17th in yards per game allowed a season ago. And this is a tough unit to move the ball against, especially when its offense is providing equal effort as well, because its defense was pretty good last year, but its offense lost them a lot of games. Derrick Tangelo, and he's an effective defensive tackle. He comes over from Duke, joins veteran PJ Mustipher, 6'4", 300 pounds. I really like what these guys have up front. I think that could be the equalizer in this game as they try to generate some inside penetration. Arnold Ebikele, he's a name that many in the program are expecting to break out this season as the next premier edge rusher. He was a standout for Temple last season. He had 42 tackles, 4 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles. He's going to be key in generating pressure because Mertz, he might have some time to sit back in the pocket. And if he does the Ebikele off the edge, you want to fluster him as much as possible. So that's a name to watch. This defense's best unit, though, it's his secondary. As noted, Jaquan Brisker, premier playmaker. There's nothing he really can't do. You're going to hear his name called off early and often throughout this contest. The former JUCO transfer, all facets of the game, he's very good. A willing tackler. Allows him to shine against the run, great skills in coverage, big fan of Brisker. You'll see him in the slot as well. He also provides good coverage in the back end. The return of senior Tariq Castro-Fields, he only played in 3 games last year, but his ball skills are valued. He's made 10 plays on the ball in 2019, a very good ball player. And then the opposite side of him, you have Joey Porter Jr. He was a tad bit shaky last year as a starter, but where a lot of people are very confident in him taking that next step. I think he's going to handle the position gracefully, just like he did as a freshman. So this unit, they have some ball players, especially in the front 7. They're really good at stopping the run last year, and that's going to be really key in this. I think this game is going to be a complete slugfest, as it usually is when you play Wisconsin. Flipping the script to Wisconsin, the Badgers get back an experienced roster on both ends, and one of the nation's best linebacker groups establishes the core of this football team. Jack Sanbom and Chenel, they're going to need to be crucial in shedding blocks and locking down the interior run defense. The Badgers' defensive line, has some question marks. So those linebackers, you lean on to make some plays. Outside linebacker Nick Herbig, Noah Burks, those guys, they're going to need to be instrumental in their own right in containing the run. Outside containment is going to be very crucial. Penn State has some very shifty backs. If they can get to the edge and get in some open field, that could spell trouble for Wisconsin. These guys are really dangerous. The defensive tackle Keanu Benton, though, I think that's a name you're really going to hear this year. A big guy, good movement. A lot of people are expecting him to break out this season at that nose tackle position. Behind it, the Wisconsin, they're going to be fielding a veteran secondary. Cesar Williams, Scott Nelson, Fayon Hicks. This defense is going to be a tough one for Sean Clifford to crack, especially without the balance. I do think Wisconsin is going to take care of the balance. Looking at the team comparisons, I think Penn State does have the edge of quarterback. Sean Clifford, a veteran. He's also very versatile. He can run, he can throw. He might be a little shaky as a passer, but that's something Mertz doesn't have to this dimension of the game. And overall, he's a good producer for this offense. As much as you might not like him, a lot of people should respect what he does for this offense. Good producer. At running back, Penn State, again, has the edge. I already told you how much I love this rotation of backs. Noah Cain and John Leavitt are the 2 standouts. Then you move the pass catcher, Jahan Dotson. Just having him alone gives your receiving core the edge, a premier playmaker. You saw what he did against Ohio State last year. Absolutely mauled that secondary. He is a phenomenal player. The offensive line, Wisconsin, I feel like this is going to be an A+ unit this season. Rasheed Walker does anchor down Penn State's offensive line, but all around the 4 seniors and the 2 young talents the Badgers have, these guys are going to be business as usual in the trenches for the Badgers. Again, the pass rushers, with the linebackers they have, they kind of steal both of this category. I like what they have in Chenel, Sanborn, Herbig, all these guys. I think they're going to be great. I think they're going to have a good game. They're all going to have big years as well. That makes up the core of not only the defense but the football team. So very impressive stuff from the Badgers there. And then both secondaries are really talented, both very veteranized, but Jaquan Brisker is one of the nation's top safeties, and that'll give the edge to Penn State. And then to wrap things up, special teams, it's kind of even. No one was really great last year in special teams and field goal kicking or extra points. Punting, they were middle of the conference in too, so special teams is even, but that's going to be a big key for this game. My final thoughts and the prediction on this game, I think for Penn State to win, they're going to have to be efficient on the ground. They're going to also have to protect the ball, as last year you saw when they turned it over, they lost. So especially against Wisconsin, you don't want to give this team any extra possessions. They're going to have to be efficient, though. They don't need to necessarily be effective, but they need to be able to make plays in the open field. If they can get to the edge, they need to make the most of it on the interior as well. Just be consistent. Don't be getting pushed around consistently. If you can establish your own, I'll use the word again, consistency. If you can establish that, then you might be in some good hands for this game. I don't think you're never going to dominate Wisconsin in the trenches, but if you can generate some solid push from time to time, then that's the key of this offense for Penn State. For Wisconsin, what they need to do to win, just play your defense. You guys know what you can do in the front seven, one of the nation's top rush defenses, pass rushing as well. Just make it tough for Sean Clifford to make plays, force him to make turnovers. Your secondary should hold up in the back end. Play your typical defense for Wisconsin. And then I also would like to see them be effective on play action. I think they're going to have some success running the ball, but again, Penn State, they're not going to run the ball too greatly. I don't expect the Badgers to either, but I do think they need to be effective on play action for this offense to pick up first downs and to move the chains. If they're not, then it's going to be very low scoring. You could see them once again score single-figure points. But with the Paul Chryst-led program, I don't expect these downfall struggles to continue. So the prediction, I think Wisconsin takes this one 21-13. A complete slugfest. Neither of these offenses were exactly great a season ago. That should change this year a little bit, but in week one, it's kind of hard to expect too much from either of them. I do think outside linebacker Noah Burks will be player of the game because he's going to have phenomenal outside containment against the run. I think you might even see him force a fumble. I think he's going to have a handful of tackles for loss, though, for sure. I think he'll be the player of the game as this rush defense is going to swallow up these Penn State backs. So that is the prediction for this game. All the other games, the massive ones, Miami, Florida, Clemson, Georgia, you name it, those games will be predicted on this channel. So stay tuned, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment on who you think will win this game. See you guys next time.